On today's show,
I don't think I would have ever dreamt that the arts could do as much as they are doing for both of my children. It definitely gave her self-confidence. It definitely builds up her character. Of course, everyone has their stage fright, but you really do have to have some kind of confidence to be able to go out there and perform. So I think for her, she found her voice early on, loved theater and just really excelled in it. And honestly, in my wildest dreams, I never would have thought that being a part of an art program and just having that access outside of, regular curricular, regular academics, that freedom to get to know who you are as a kid. Kids are developing so quickly now. And I feel like it's so great for those art programs to provide a safe space for them. I feel like it builds discipline. It builds focus. It gets them out of their own head, out of their phones, out of their electronics. I think that both of my kids have benefited tremendously because it just kind of gives them structure, discipline. And I think that those are tools that anybody can use in life. Those are tools that you can carry with you as an adult.
Welcome to Education Today. I'm your host, Solanke. I spent 15 years in the secondary classroom teaching English, reading, and social studies. I've also been on the other side as a parent of 3 children who have completed the formal schooling years of kindergarten through 12th grade and are now in the college and career stage. Now I'm here to have conversations with teachers, administrators, school staff, students, and parents about all things education. Join me as I cover current topics in education from preschool through to college, career, and beyond. Okay, I'm here today with Ortheline Athey. She's my guest today on the show. Ortheline is married to Ryan, and between the two of them, they are raising 2 children. Welcome to the show, Ortheline.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good.
So we'll have you here on this show today to talk about the arts and education. So you do have 2 school-age children, as I mentioned. What grade levels are they in?
So I have my son who is in 3rd grade and goes to Shore Elementary Magnet Performing Arts School. And then I have my daughter who is in 8th grade and goes to Orange Grove Middle Magnet Performing Arts School.
Okay. So for our audience who may not know, so in Hillsborough County, which is the Tampa Bay area, we have what's called magnet programs. They may be called something else in the rest of the country. And what this means is that certain schools will have a special program, and it could be law studies, it could be technology, it could be performing arts, to serve as a magnet to draw in students from other parts of the county to that school. Often there is a lottery or an application to get into the school. But that's what the magnet programs are. So both of your children are in magnet programs for performing arts, correct?
Yes.
All right. So I know your eldest child, I think that she's been in such a program since elementary. Is that true?
Yes, since she was in first grade.
Okay. And what particular magnet program was she in 1st grade?
So when she was at Shore, she did the theater. She acted in the school plays, and then she also did the music as well too. So she did she participated a little bit in chorus, but mostly it was the theater. And then she tried doing instruments, but she didn't have the bandwidth for doing all of it. So she just kind of focused more so on just the acting. So she did school plays, and with Shore specifically, when the school starts in August and then they start auditioning for the play in November, and then the performance takes place in May. So from November to April, that's all they're doing that's their whole school showcase. So she starts from November all the way till the end of May, or middle of May, when they do their actual performance.
Yeah. And then from elementary school, she went on to, you said, Orange Grove Middle Magnet, which is a performing arts program also.
Correct. But with Orange Magnet, she was able to do dance, which she really enjoys. And then she also does the theater program there as well, too. We just came back this weekend. We went to the Thespian Festival in Orlando. That's like their statewide competition. Yeah. And that was her first year doing it. She did a monologue. She scored superior, which is right below the winner. Basically, the winner gets top honors and they go and perform. And then right below that is superior. So for her first year doing it, she did really well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was this arts program positively impacted her life in terms of her education, perhaps her personality, her well-being?
Honestly, I don't think I would have ever dreamt that the arts could do as much as they are doing for both of my children. I think when I took her out, when I moved to Tampa, a friend of mine, she had her son in the school. And at first it was just kind of to put her in a school because she was coming to a new school, just to kind of have someone there. And I think that her being there, it definitely gave her self-confidence. It definitely builds up her character. Because I mean, in order to be a performer, of course, everyone has their stage fright, but you really do have to have some kind of confidence to be able to go out there and perform, kind of be a different person. So I think for her, she found her voice early on, loved theater and just really excelled in it. And honestly, in my wildest dreams, I never would have thought that being a part of an art program and just having that access to outside of, regular curricular, regular academics, that freedom to kind of get to know who you are as a kid. Kids are developing so quickly now. And I feel like it's so great for those art programs to provide a safe space for them. I feel like it builds discipline. When she would come home, she would do her homework, then she would practice her script, without us telling her. We wouldn't have to tell her. It builds discipline. It builds focus. It kind of, gets them out of their own head, out of their phones, out of the electronics, and kind of just, something a little bit different. So I definitely appreciate the arts for that. I think that both of my kids have definitely benefited tremendously by doing the art program, because it just kind of gives them structure, discipline. And I think that those are tools that anybody can use in life, whether you don't go to a magnet school or you don't even do performing arts later in your life. Those are tools that you can carry with you as an adult in life.
You said something that was that struck me, and that was that it gets them out of their phones. And I didn't even think about that, but that's true. If you're busy dancing, preparing scripts, rehearsing, building sets, acting, then perhaps you're not on your phone as much. That's pretty powerful.
Oh no, I mean, absolutely. Especially when she joined middle school. So middle school, she was doing dance and she was doing theater, and it's the same thing. Around August, November, I would say October in middle school, they start right away. So they have showcases, they have recitals, all of that. It's the entire school year. And there would be times where she would be coming home at 6:30, 7 o'clock from leaving the house at, 7 a.m. to get to school. She wouldn't be home till 7 o'clock in the evening. She'd just eat her dinner and go straight to bed. So I think for them, it builds this life of outside of their phones, outside of the friends, outside of just kind of learning who you are, kind of building who you are. And I think for her, she knows that those things will always be there, but it's teaching her that if there's things in life that you enjoy doing, you should go after them. So I think for her, it definitely gave her a sense of just kind of purpose. Like, she enjoyed doing it. She had access to do it. And so dance was something that brought her creativity. She learned to choreograph her own dances, and that takes time to practice. And I think that's what a lot of things is, like, finding, even like I said, even if it's something that you don't pursue in the future, there are very great attributes about doing any type of thing in the arts, whether it's music, whether it's drawing, whether it's dancing, whether it's theater, that teaches you discipline. And if you want to be good at this, you have to practice. And that's the one thing too, is that, things don't just come easy. It's not instant gratification. It's things that you have to practice. You have to really earn your role. And those schools are very competitive. So it teaches them that if you really want to be good at something, you put towards the effort, you work hard, and see where your hard work can take you.
You mentioned that she's working so hard that oftentimes, or sometimes, she'll come home and just crash and go to sleep at 6 p.m. or something, or 8 p.m. I think you said, I don't know.
7.
So how has she been able to balance the academic side of school along with the performing arts?
So the days so she would have rehearsal 3 days a week. I mean, with both my kids, it's tough because they both do stuff outside of, not so much because the school is so, what the school requirements are so much. She doesn't have time to do anything outside of school. But even with so the days that they don't have practice, I mean, we have them, like, if they have packets that they have to bring home that have to be completed by Friday, the days that they don't have anything going on, we just make them double up on the work. So they would do like multiple pages on a day that they don't have rehearsal. If they're coming home early, I would try to encourage them to do all the homework in that day. So that way they can just focus on the rest of the week practicing. It's just difficult. I don't believe in keeping them up till 10 o'clock at night doing homework because they need their rest too. It's just as important getting up, they're, getting good sleeping habits, eating properly. Those are just as important to their craft as well. So we didn't believe in having them stay up till 10 o'clock at night. It was in dinner and then going straight to bed, getting as enough sleep as you can to be rejuvenated for the next day.
Yeah, that's good. So they have balance.
Yeah.
That's good. I knew that your daughter was in these programs. I did not know your son was in it. And it kind of surprised me because he seems so shy and quiet.
It really surprised us too, especially he's in third grade. And I think what really shocked us was last year when he told us that he wanted to try out for a school play. And mind you, my son plays football. He's been playing football since he was 5 years old. He started playing flag and started playing tackle. So I assumed that he was going to take the athletic route and just do football.
Yeah.
And then I remember he told me that he wanted to try out for the school play. And I was like, well, you do know that your school play takes a lot of time. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of effort. You're already doing football. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And he's the quarterback of this team. So he's learning plays. He's learning how to do so. For me, I just didn't want him to just be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, Mom, I can do it. I want to do it. And I want to try out for the play. And so we let him. There would be times where he would have to, do his homework and he'd have to sacrifice not playing his video games, or he'd go outside, throw his football for an hour, part of his training, and then he'd have to read his script and he would have to do that. And he just found that balance because we didn't want to force it upon him. Of course, I was super happy that he was involved, but I wanted it to come from a place where he wanted to. And his teacher was so impressed by, how he was doing the play. They offered him a bigger role and he turned it down. He's like, he's like, I can only do what I'm doing now. And I'm already overextended. Yeah. He was like, I can't do it.
Wow.
So he turned the role down. And then it's so crazy because this year he was, they're doing the Wizard of Oz and he plays the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so excited about his role, but then he also made the track team. And he really had to choose because it's one of the best track teams in Tampa. It is the best track team in Tampa. And so he had to choose because his rehearsals end at 4:30 and track practice starts at 5. And it's a 45-minute drive. And so in order for him to he wants to be a really good quarterback, and track was one of the ways that he had to work on his speed to get better.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you have two things that you really love. And sometimes in life you have to choose. Like, it breaks my heart to have to tell you this, but you're not going to be able to do both.
Yeah.
And he just could not make the decision. He was like, Mom, I really love doing both. I think if I really try really hard, I can do both. So we reached out to his drama teacher and explained the situation. And he was like, is such a hard worker and he puts in so much effort. I'm willing to let him leave rehearsal 30 minutes early so he can do both. And that just changed the game for him because and I think that, people have to understand that, like, with kids, they're kids. They're going to bounce back. They're going to be able to do. And I think that when your kid tells you, I can do it, listen to them, trust them, allow them, especially if they're doing the work, putting in the effort. And that was my big thing too, because these things aren't cheap. They're expensive programs. Yeah. And I think when I see that my kids are practicing on their own, it's very, very, very rare that I have to tell go practice, go read your lines. The same thing with like they have definitely disciplined themselves. And I don't think that would have happened if they didn't experience it at an early age. If they didn't start learning that if they wanted to really hone in on this craft, they were definitely going to have to put in the effort, put in the extra time, the commitment, the sacrifice. Because they're kids. One's 14 and one's 8. They love video games. They love playing Roblox. There's still kid activities that they very much enjoy and they still get to do, but they have to sacrifice those things at times too. And I think that it's great skills that will carry them on in their life. Even if never plays football again or never dances again, these are skills that they can take with them for the rest of their life.
Yeah. You mentioned expense. I think you were talking more about the sports programs, but that led me to ask you: is there a cost attached to the Magnet Performing Arts programs?
Oh, and absolutely. To compete, when you're competing, we were in Orlando for 3 days. We had to pay for workshops. We had to pay for a hotel stay, food, So it was a very high expense. Her dance field trip, they got to perform at one of the Orlando Ballet Company. They get to take classes there. So you have fees that are due. They have to get shoes. So the school doesn't cover shoes. I've already replaced JLo's ballet shoes twice. I mean, they're at minimum $100 for a pair of ballet shoes. So it can get very expensive. And that was another thing for me too. Like, I think that if it was not for my kids showing how much they loved it and how passionate they were, I don't think I would be so quick to spend the money or really invest in it. It's them showing, like, it's them taking the initiative. It's not me forcing it upon them. Yeah. It's the great teachers that are there, the wonderful staff that loves what they do, and that you can tell that they're passionate about what they do in the arts, and the kids can see that, and they even see, and they want that. They want that energy, and it motivates them to do well, and it motivates them to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So
my next question then is, so what about families who can't afford that expense? Is there an allowance for them?
I know that because I know that for a lot of the programs, especially in school, they do, like, even at the workshops, they raise money. So that way the kids who do want to go, they do offer scholarships for families. They do work with them. They do. I know that they have certain payment plans that they can do for certain families that are really passionate but don't want to miss out on the experience.
Yeah. So, in education, the budgets are always tight. We're not a priority, unfortunately, when it comes to the government. And usually arts programs are the first to be cut. So if there were a time when, say, the district decided we can no longer afford these programs, we have to cut them, and you had a chance to argue in front of the school board as to why these programs should remain in place, what would your argument be to keep these programs?
That's a great question. I think for me, so I'll give the example of my nephew. So my nephew just moved here from Port Charlotte. He's been staying with us in Tampa, and he went to a regular elementary school. There's no performing arts. There's nothing, and he was doing fine. And he started going to Shore, and he has been so enthralled into the performing arts program, learning how to play an instrument. Just the other day, we were going to pick him up early, and he didn't want to. He wanted to leave after his performance. Yeah. He wanted to stay there and perform. And I think that I would just say it would be a huge disservice to remove the arts program from these schools, because yes, academics are extremely important, but sometimes these kids get so overwhelmed with the testing, with the learning, that they need something positive and influential to just remotivate them and just give them a chance, give them a voice in a world where these kids are all just trying to find a place to belong. Yeah. The arts is exactly that place for them. Yeah. They're able to just really cultivate. They're able to learn. It doesn't matter if you're somebody who does sports. It doesn't matter if you're somebody who just draws. If you're into cartooning, you're going to find any place in the arts. Yeah. And I feel like removing that is just a huge disservice to the school and to the kids, to the education system. Yeah. Because I feel like kids who do the arts, and it's been proven too in a lot of studies, that kids who do any type of activity, whether it's sports, music, arts, or anything, they're more inclined to have less depression. Yeah. They're more inclined to be more confident in themselves. They're more inclined to find purpose. Yeah. So I think that the arts is a great escape for these children who can get away from testing, can just go to music class and listen to music and dance and just be free to be who they are. Yeah. And I think that to take that away from them would would be almost like a punishment in a way. Like, I think that you're almost punishing these kids because it's like a safe space for them. I don't know any child that has done an art program or been in a magnet school where they felt like they couldn't find anything that was suiting to them. No matter what it was, I feel like it caters to everyone. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things I love about it, is that it caters to all personalities. It caters to all types of students. They can find a place to belong. They can find a voice in the arts.
Yeah. So thank you so much to my guest today, Ortheline Athey, for sharing so passionately about your children's experience in Hillsborough County's arts magnet programs. And best of luck to your third grader as he moves on, and to your eighth grader as she moves on to high school. Will she be going to Blake?
No, she's actually on the wait list. We're hoping for Brooks to Bartlow. So she would be going there. But if she does do the performing arts program, we're looking at Gaither.
Oh, okay.
High school.
I see. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Education Today. We'll be back next time with more current topics on all things education. In the meantime, you can email any questions or comments you have about the show to edtodaypodcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please hit the subscribe button on whichever platform you are listening so we can continue to expand our reach. We are listener supported, so if you're able to make a small monthly donation, you can do so by clicking the Support This Podcast link at the bottom of the show notes. Check out my blog for more about my experiences as a classroom teacher at medium.com/@SOCO. That's medium.com/@SOHKOR. You can also find me on Instagram at SOCO_rights. That's SOHKOR_rights. See you next time, and thank you again for listening.